just have to sit here the whole concert. Like, it's so cute.
And then you guys give me a ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. First time. Hey, can I get a ride home with you guys after the concert? So, I really want to see Rebecca Jane. Because she's one of the best agents. So,
Like you said, you're
she's one of the best.
Yeah, I'm the best.
You keep telling yourself that. So, anyway. If you see school, stay here. Woke up, went to school, been here since.
Wait,
I had track after school and a chess club after school. So I was at chess club, and then I went to track after that. And I hang out in our band teacher room because you know that's me when I record stuff. There's no point. This person. That's her kid. Okay. I was wondering. She keeps talking to her son that he played soccer. And I was trying to figure out which one it was. Because I played against him. It's that one. He kind of sucked at soccer.
see,
You guys are pretty good at soccer. What are you talking about? Tucker. We love Mr. Tucker. He's the band teacher. So if you do band, he's the one who's going to teach you. He's a chill guy. He coaches for us as well. He's a chill guy.
Does he get them?
He coaches you. Yeah. So what are you going to say? Just
This was on right now? So I can hear this.
probably.
So if people are watching this video, they're just hearing this stuff. So it's Parker in the second. I'm pretty sure he's in the band.
I'm really, yes. I would say.
Pretty good.
This is going to be
Mom!
You're coming to our house tomorrow.
So after school, I'll just walk.
Okay, sweet. I was like, I think we might come early, but I'm really tired. And Nick brought that cord back. We need to grab it. We need to make sure we grab it. So let me forget. I'm really forgetting a lot.
I'll help you.
Thank you.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen Joseph. This is my best friend. Yeah, we live
What's your last name? Stephanie. Stephanie.
Welcome and thank you for being here tonight for our spring orchestra concert. We are going to start promptly, hopefully here, and get the sixth graders going with their very first piece. They've come such a long way since you heard them in the winter. And this first piece will show it, Metallurgy. We worked really hard on lyrical playing. Isn't so simple. 7th and 8th graders have a piece as well. To play gentle and pretty takes more maturity in our playing. So that was the last one, Aspen Glow. As well as something we've been working on with all of our pieces here in 6th grade is melodies passing throughout the orchestra. It's not just the first violins that always have a melody. That's a stereotype. That wouldn't be enjoyable for the other players. But we need to hear the melodies come out. You can't just play loud or play one dynamic. Hearing that, balancing and blending with the melodies was something we worked on for metallurgy and with the pieces coming up here. We have Elaine Liu helping us on the piano here from the 8th grade orchestra with the Haunted Carols. One important thing to note, I can't believe I did this. There's a typo in the program on the upcoming orchestra event. Solo and Ensemble Festival is not this Friday, it is next Friday. That's the date from like last year's program, so I'm so sorry. It is next Friday, May 9th. I haven't seen it incorrect anywhere else. So trust what I've sent you in emails and the newsletter, and the kids all know now, they should know. It is next Friday. Our rehearsals do continue in the morning because we have to practice for the Solo and Ensemble Festival. Sixth graders will also be playing for the fifth graders next week. And so I'll be in touch with end of the year details. We will do orchestra breakfast parties again for both groups. So stay tuned for more emails. For that Solo and Ensemble Festival, if you didn't yet send $14 with your kiddo for lunch at UND, we're eating at their dining center. It's quite the feast. So reminder to get the $14 to them to get to me. And I did send the detailed schedule in an email to parents. If you're able, parents, family, friends, to come listen to your student perform on Friday, May 9th, check your email. I'll resend that schedule as well, so you have that. All right, we are going to move right along to our two harder pieces for the sixth graders this spring. Again, passing melodies, balancing, blending, dynamics, and harmonies. First, Voyager, followed by Perpetual Fiddle Motion.
Now I have to zoom out. We'll go to sophomore. So you're
This is the part we don't always get to practice because there's breakfast in here and we don't get to just come take over. So, 6th graders are moving out to watch the 7th and 8th graders. We realize this evening is a busy evening too for other activities, but hopefully most of you are able to stay. We just have a few songs for the 7th and 8th graders to play as well, so we'll get them situated. And while they are getting comfortable, I'll send out summer information if you're interested in lessons in June at the school district. That is happening. It isn't up in my school books yet, but it is going to be very soon. And that's just 4 lessons in June, worked around your schedule. There's also IMC, International Music Camp, the Medora String Camp, sounds cool, and the Youth Orchestra, Northern Valley Youth Orchestra here in Grand Forks, has a program that runs through the school year. If you're interested in doing any extra orchestra, you can play Monday nights through the fall and the winter, and auditions are soon if you're interested in doing that. They also have a summer camp in August, Del Seno. So will send that out with all the information that's yet to come about solo and ensemble in summer and end of the year. With that, let's see, are we good? We're almost good? Yes, we will get the 7th and 8th. I think it's safe to say that was by far the most challenging piece. They have this spring, when we sight read it, I thought it would be fun to try that style. I really didn't think we were gonna do it. They loved the different style and the challenge and wanted to do it. So they rose to the challenge. They did really well working through the details of that piece, the difficulty of the piece, and not only the difficulty, the parts are so exposed at the beginning. You can hear any little mistake. So, well done. We are going to totally change gears to the more lyrical style with Reverie. Clearly we have a little something up our sleeve. This took a lot of extra work on non-musical things, well, sort of musical things, acting, and yes, singing. And here's a scream. We did this a scream in a piece a couple years ago. Were the 8th graders here for that? Wasn't eating zombies. Yeah, so don't be alarmed, there will be a scream. Everything's fine. It's supposed to be there. And we will be graced with Jeremiah and Shai's humor and personalities. And the bass players' personalities and humor. And some vocals with Mila here. So, remote control. Think of the bell as the remote changing the TV channel or the TV show. we do have one more final piece for you. Okay, we preserved our hearing and did not scream that loudly in class. Okay, that was a loud scream. Wow, okay. We know she has some lungs. All right. A trombone player. There we are. Yes, all right. We'll get Jeremiah and Shai a moment to get settled. And I've lost my notes and my music. That was a little chaos. Yes, but worth it. All right. I need to recognize, because we haven't had a concert since, well, the state middle level orchestra. So we have 7th and 8th graders can audition for the state middle level honors orchestra each year. And then they're selected by audition from across the state. So 6th graders will have that opportunity next year if you're interested. And from the South Middle School Orchestra, we had several selected. William Halberter Rodriguez over there in the bass section. Stand, unless you're already standing. Grace Lee, our vocalist. And Elaine Liu, Esme Nagel, Casey Zhang, Corey Zhang, and alternates Porter Shesky, Shiloh Vrudny. Let's give them a round of applause. And then I also want to recognize 8th graders. Would you please stand, 8th graders? Because this is their final orchestra concert. I'm so, I know. Thank you. Not all teachers get to have their students for more than 1 year. So I have had the privilege of knowing them for at least 3 years, most of them, and some even for 5 when they were at Discovery. So they will be truly missed. But the cool thing about orchestra is we see each other at festivals and concerts in the future. So I will look forward to watching them grow, unless they're moving. Yeah. And then thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you to Mrs. Black Erickson for helping with the sound, the microphones, the lighting. Nehemiah Kaufman, our student, for running the live stream. That will live on our YouTube page if you would like to share the video of tonight's concert. And fellow music teachers for all their help behind the scenes, sharing equipment, sharing rooms, Mrs. Mercer, Mr. Tucker, and again, Mrs. Black Erickson. And our wonderful administrators, Mr. Neal, Mr. Lowe. And we are gonna move on, well, and of course, parents, thank you so much. Always thank you for all of your encouragement and support with these kids. After our final piece here, if you would help stack the audience chairs, that would be great. I think they go in stacks of 9, 8, thank you. And then the chairs, the pink chairs up here are gonna stay on stage. Next week's band concert, we'll use them. We do need the stands to go back down to the music department. And the pink and blue chairs were loaned by our library. So if anyone wants to help haul the pink and blue chairs to outside the library door, that would be really helpful. So I appreciate it. Thank you again, and here is Forever Joyful. especially students, thank you for all your hard work. Have a good night.